Welcome. In today's video, we will be analyzing VELO's technical analysis and price action and looking what could be coming next in the near short term. Nothing that I say is financial advice. Let's dive into the content. So analyzing the weekly time frame here, it looks like VELO is caught between a rock and a hard place at the moment. You've got this yellow line, which is the weekly 20 EMA, and you've got this orange line, which is the 100-week SMA. So VELO actually came back down to this orange line on the most recent correction, bringing us down to 0.008, which tied up with retracing back to this multi-year ascending support. So you can see the support has been holding since December of 2022 at the all-time lows, and we've had multiple points of contact on this trend line. Now, this was the first point of contact in April 2025 on this trend line since October 2023. So it took a couple of years to actually sort of put in a new impulsive high and then retrace back down to this multi-year ascending support, and equally this orange line, which is the 100-week SMA, just to recap. And then we've had the rally from this 100-week SMA pushing up to the 20-week EMA. So how to get these EMAs and SMAs on your chart? Simply go to indicators, type in EMA, and it will come up moving average exponential. You can add it to your charts and then customize it up here in the top left, guys. If you come to this little sort of whatever shape this is, settings, come here, you can type in the colors and put it to what you want in your style, and you can also choose the size or length of this EMA. Again, we're looking at the 20 EMA on the weekly time frame, and I've got it as yellow just because it's nice and bright and easy to see. And you would do the same with the SMA by typing in SMA, and it will come up with smoothed moving average. Click on that and put it to 100, and it will add these both to your charts. Now, EMAs are fantastic to use. When you're above the EMAs and holding them as support, this is a macro uptrend. When you're below them and hitting your heads on them, this is a downtrend, or you're looking to build some sort of base in a correction. And we can see that right now, VELO over the last sort of few months has lost its weekly 20 EMA, hit its head on it a few times back in February, and then retraced back down to this 100-week SMA and equally the multi-year ascending support. So we've had our what looks to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave corrections. We've had 5 waves down, which ideally we would like to see this complete this macro correction. And what we've had since then is this nice sort of 3 to 4 weeks of pushing up into this 20 EMA. So the macro resistance right now that VELO needs to break is 0.0156, which is this weekly 20 EMA. And the support that we technically need to hold is 1, this multi-year ascending support line, and equally having a retest back on this 100-week SMA, I don't think would be a bad shout. Now, I think I've said in previous videos, if we come over to the daily time frame here, I believe that VELO is looking to build some sort of inverse head and shoulders or base to complete this correction. Okay, so we're going to get these EMAs and SMAs off for now, and what we're sort of looking at here is 1, we've had the breakout of this descending level of resistance, which VELO has been under since it started this correction in January. You can see we've come up to this resistance a couple of times, and we actually broke through in early April. Now, we have had a very nice increase of around, I think it's about 70 to 80%, about a 75-76% increase since tapping this low, and we have broken out of this resistance. But you will notice that VELO has run into another level of resistance which is trying to break out of, and this is the 0.014/15 area. So again, this is a very crucial area for VELO to break. And what I think is going on right now, if I just dim this trend line for us, what I think is going on is VELO is trying to build some sort of inverse head and shoulders. Potentially, guys, you've got this left shoulder where you've come into resistance, you've then got this head which is the 0.008 low, and then we've come up into this level of resistance once more, and now it looks like we're pulling back for this right shoulder in order to complete this correction. And what you've got is VELO's falling wedge, where it had this level of support and a level of resistance that it was caught between for so many months, and right now you've got the breakout. But what we want to see is the confirmational base built with this breakout to validate that we're looking to push higher. And this is why I would expect potentially this right shoulder to come into fruition. So this is what I'm kind of looking at right now, guys. Again, on the weekly time frames, we've run into that weekly 20 EMA, which is why we're seeing this push back down here. So key levels of support moving forward to identify this potential low of where this right shoulder could be. Again, if we scope this over to the left just a little bit here, you'll notice that straight off the back, the fibs that I like to look for, guys, are the 050 and the 0618. And the 0618 sits very closely on the left shoulder. So if we was to put in an identical right shoulder, it could mean VELO coming back down towards somewhere like 0.011 to 0.010. And again, pulling back to that 0.010 mark, if we was to do that on the right shoulder, getting the 100-week SMA back on, that right shoulder, if we zoom out a little bit here, if we do come back down to that 0.618 area, it would tie up very close to this orange line. And another retest, and exactly would be a higher low, sort of from these candle closes. Okay, so that's a little bit of confluence there. Now, it doesn't have to come this low. Okay, I don't think it has to come this low. You've also got the 0.382 here at 0.012, which could act as a level of support on this pullback. Okay, and then we could get the break there, and this initially could then sort of form the shoulder here, and it could be a little bit more shallow before getting the breakout. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here, guys, on the sort of macro perspective. Short-term perspective is coming back to either the 0.382 or the 0.50 and 0.618. I know it's quite a broad range, guys, and I don't want to try and pick the bottom, but these are the key levels of support from this local high that we've put in, retracing back to this 0.008 low. So these are the key Fibonacci levels that we need to keep our eyes on in order to see relief or a nice bounce out of the woods here. Now, I've seen some technical analysis online recently on X that states that we could be potentially in a dead cat bounce here and still have further corrections to come. Now, again, you can see also why VELO has been rejected from this point, because it ran into its 0.382 fib. Again, another level of resistance, right? But a lot of people are potentially saying that what this could be is this is an A wave right now, and then we're going to get a dead cat bounce potentially up to one of these two areas, and then we're going to come back in for a deeper correction back down to, i.e. 0.007, I think it was, that people were looking at, or 6. And again, this does have a potential play, and this would lead us into sort of late August, and then VELO gets this impulsive massive breakout taking us to those higher targets. Now, this isn't something that's I'm looking for right this second. The only way to validate any sort of further correction is, of course, losing this local low that we have, but we're not there right now. We do have key levels of support that I just mentioned on the chart. It does look like we are building this sort of base after breaking out of our resistance. And again, as I was saying, I think that this is potentially a inverse head and shoulders that is trying to form here in order for us to get the breakout. Now, if we do get the breakout and this inverse head and shoulders does come into fruition, we can analyze the target. So you go from the neckline of the head and shoulders back down to where the head actually had its touch point. And when you break out of resistance, this is the target that I would look for, and it's 0.024. And you could see that this inverse head and shoulders target would kind of bring us up to this previous level of support that VELO was holding all the way back in December. Okay, so 0.024. We was holding this support for a long time, and we got that push up to 0.038, but then we initially lost this support and actually haven't really back tested it since losing it. So if VELO does form this inverse head and shoulders here, the breakout target, guys, sits at 0.024, and that's something that I would really like to look for here. So key support targets to take away: 0.012 to 0.010. I think coming back to that level would be healthy to form this right shoulder and then go for the break, pushing up to 0.024. I hope you've enjoyed the content, guys. From Chart Nerd TA, take care. Peace out.